What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And before I get into this video today, let me just start out with saying thanks to everyone that supports the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your comments. I definitely appreciate it. You are my energy. You are my motivation. You are the reason why I keep going and I keep doing this. So thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. You would never even know. Now, with that being said, let me introduce you to Miss Sharon Stone here. So, this is Sharon Stone, the beautiful Sharon Stone. For those of you who are not familiar with her in her heyday, in her younger days, she's older now. She's in her 60s. But for those of you who did not have the opportunity or the privilege to see her when she was in her prime, because for some of you she's a generation um, she's a generation before you, so you wouldn't have had the opportunity to see her as I'm presenting her here now. You see her in the present day, old senior citizen, but this is what she used to look like. And this is a picture of her in a movie called Basic Instinct. Before I get into the video, let me just say that Sharon Stone is extremely talented. She is a fabulous actress. I've watched a lot of her movies, and every movie she's ever been in, every role she's ever had, she's killed it. So she's not just a pretty face. She's extremely talented. I watched her doing interviews, and she's intelligent as well. So she's got the package. She's got the brains, and she's got the mind. Unfortunately, she's still a woman, and women work by emotions. And with all the accolades that I just gave her, Miss Sharon Stone is still operating in a realm of delusion. Um, if you watch my last video, or not even just my last one, but subsequent videos that I've done prior to this, you know this is a problem that we have with women today. That women are delusional. Most women. Not all, not all, not all. We know not all, but we know that it's most. And we know that society has created them. As intelligent and as talented as Miss Sharon Stone is, the delusion that most women under, fall into, it doesn't matter what level of success they reach. This delusion has a strong stranglehold on them. And it doesn't matter if they're a lawyer, actress, singer, waitress, bartender. The profession does not matter. There is a machine out there that is programming these women to think and believe a certain thing, no matter how unrealistic and how ridiculous it may be and it may sound. But I need to give you some backstory on this Sharon Stone, because when we go into the video, I want you to have a full idea of exactly who she is. Miss Sharon Stone is no slouch. She was gorgeous in her day. She was in the 80s and the 90s what Margot Robbie is today. You know how Margot Robbie is the blonde bombshell of today. This is what Sharon Stone was in the 80s and in the 90s. This is a picture of her in Basic Instinct. This is another picture of her in the same movie, Basic Instinct. This is a picture of her in the late 80s, I believe. And she was still 80s, 90s, and then the early 2000s. She was still the thing. So you need to have that backstory, because she is not just a common woman that's hit the wall and that's up here just talking. She is a woman that was extremely beautiful, stunning, and hit the wall. And you would think the way she looked and how many walls her posters hung up on, that she would actually tell the truth about how it is as a woman to look like her, to start aging and going into her twilight years. But like we always say, women cannot handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
The lie is easier to believe because the truth hurts, even for someone as accomplished and as successful as Miss Sharon Stone, who was an absolute beauty in her day. And it doesn't make sense, but we're seeing this more and more often that a lot of women who look like Miss Sharon Stone still end up by themselves. This just blows my mind, guys. And it's the choices. It's the choices that they make. It's not because they didn't have a list of suitors. They had the option to get the top guys. A lot of women today, most modern women today who shoot for the top guys have no shot of getting them. This is just reality. But she is actually the type of woman, and it's rare, but she's actually the type of woman who had a shot at getting a top guy. Just about any top guy she wanted. Her looks was that prime. But a lot of these women who look like this, guys, they still, who are in that top tier, they end up alone, and they end up not having a partner, and they end up not being married. We've seen this with countless of successful, beautiful women. Janet Jackson, Halle Berry, Angelina Jolie. Who else? The list can go on and on. Jennifer Lopez. She's married now, but I think she's been divorced twice. So it's this should not be their lives, but unfortunately for a lot of them, it is their lives, and it's the choices that they're making. So let's get into the video and let's dissect and break down, because even someone as successful as Sharon Stone um, still operates in a world of illusion.
Yeah, I hope so too. I want to pivot a little bit. The women who listen to this podcast, we have, women listeners all around the world. And one of the things that they like about us is that we're very honest about stumbling through womanhood and the ugly and the hard. And I think we've been really having fun.
Okay, she made a bold statement here. She said one of the things their listeners love about their podcast is about their honesty and their truthfulness to tell the truth about womanhood and blah, 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 blah. That is a very bold statement. That is a very bold statement. Once you say something like that and it leaves your lips, you cannot take it back. She said that her audience values their honesty. If that is true, then in this interview, they let their audience down because there was no honesty coming out of what we're about to listen to.
Fun with, that I'm 40s now. We were 30s when we started the podcast. And there was something that you said in this article, and I wanted to read the quote and just kind of get you to explain it more, that I loved. And you were, this is the September 2015 issue. Can't remember what it was. You said at a certain you posed nude for this.
Oh, in
Vanity
Vogue,
Fair?
Vogue, yeah.
And you said
that little magazine.
Just little magazine. I don't know. You might have heard of it. At a certain point, you start asking yourself, what really is sexy? It's not just the elevation of your boobs. It's being present and having fun and liking yourself enough to like the person that's with you. And I just love that. And I guess my question is,
that is not what sexy means. Women do this a lot, where they'll take a word that actually means something and they try to make it mean something else. That is not what sexy means. Sexy does not mean whatever it is she said, with holding hands or... Let me run it back, because I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she just said a whole bunch of I don't want to run it back too far either, but she said a whole bunch of nonsense of what sexy is.
Can't remember what it was. You said at a certain you posed nude for this.
Oh, in
Vanity
Vogue,
Fair?
Vogue, yeah.
And you said
that little magazine.
Just little magazine. I don't know. You might have heard of it. At a certain point, you start asking yourself, what really is sexy? It's not just the elevation of your boobs. It's being present and having fun and liking yourself enough to like the person that's with you. And I just love.
That is not what sexy means. If you look up sexy in the dictionary, sexy means sexually attractive or exciting. Sexually attractive or exciting. Appealing. Stimulating. Intriguing. That's what sexy means. It doesn't mean you being comfortable to hold someone's hand. It doesn't mean any of this nonsense that she said. This is what women do when it comes time to face reality. And it's a reality that they don't want to accept. They start to change the definition of what words actually means. And they have to change the definition because the definition, the real definition of what I just gave you of what sexy is, sexually attractive, seductive, exciting, appealing, in order for them to accept that, if for them to accept that definition, they would have to acknowledge, she would have to acknowledge that she's no longer sexy. Because women in their 60s, women in their 70s are not sexually appealing to men. So in order to feel sexy, I have to change the definition. And this is the kind of delusion that a lot of women operate under. Now, there was the other woman, what was her name? There was the other woman, she was a supermodel. And she said, she noticed as she got older, men stopped hitting on her. So she acknowledged that there is a wall there. And even the men, she was on a panel of men, and the men even started capping for her, saying, no, that's not it. The guys are just intimidated. Like, it was ridiculous, the amount of nonsense that was coming out of these guys' mouths. The woman was acknowledging, as soon as I hit 50, the reason why I'm older, men are not paying me attention like they used to when I was younger. And these two simps on there was placating to her, patronizing her, and saying, no, that's not it. And she knew they was lying. She was making faces when they was giving her all kinds of excuses on why the men wasn't there. This is why women are delusional. It's not only the corporations, TV shows, and that stuff. It's also simp men that then reinforce the delusion. And this is why they stay delusional.
Of that. And I guess my question is, and then there was like another time, there was another article that you were just in, and you said, life doesn't always make you feel like a winner as you grow older. When I see you, I see and feel like the smartest, most beautiful, most epic woman I've ever seen in a room. How do you like yourself as you grow old and you get past the point of like being hot and being, I mean, I still like to consider myself but let's be honest. Like, how do you do that gracefully and stay so confident in yourself when the entire ecosystem of the world is just set to make us feel like garbage
and to discard us
at a certain age?
I think I'm hotter now than I.
You are.
Than I.
Confirmed.
Do we need to hear that again? What did Miss Honesty say? Let's run it back.
Life doesn't always make you feel like a winner as you grow older. When I see you, I see and feel like the smartest, most beautiful, most epic woman I've ever seen in a room. How do you like yourself as you grow old and you get past the point of like being hot and being, I mean, I still like to consider myself but let's be honest. Like, how do you do that gracefully and stay so confident in yourself when the entire ecosystem of the world is just set to make us feel like garbage
and to discard us
at a certain age?
I think I'm hotter now than I.
You are.
Than I.
Confirmed.
Than I have ever been. I know that I am.
Wait, that's a lie! That's a goddamn lie!
I think I'm hotter now than I.
You are.
Than I.
Confirmed.
Than I have ever been. I know that I am. Than I.
Confirmed.
So much for the honesty, guys. What did she say at the beginning of this clip? Women around the world follow them and listen to their podcast for their honesty. And within 1 minute of playing this clip, honesty went out the window. They know that Sharon Stone is lying. They know that what she's saying is foolishness, but they don't have the heart or the courage to tell the truth because they know that their audience, which are women, do not want to hear the truth. If you have a platform or you have a product to sell to women, and you want to make a lot of money, if that is your goal, which is the goal of businesses, businesses are in business to make money, to make a profit. And if their target audiences are women, then they know they have to sell women things that make them feel good. They have to sell women dreams. They have to sell women delusions. And this is what these women are up here selling their audiences. Starting with Miss Sharon Stone. They're selling a delusion. There's no honesty here. This is just a bunch of stuff that make women feel good. She acknowledges earlier that being in her 40s has made her less attractive than she was in her 20s.
I mean, I still like to consider myself fuckable, but let's be honest.
She knows that there's a conception point that once a woman reaches a certain age, her looks, her sexuality, her attractiveness, her appeal, it starts to go all downhill. She says it out of her own mouth. And then when Sharon Stone starts spitting that delusional theology, they jump aboard and say she's right. This is why the delusion exists. This is why the delusion is here, because the delusion is what keeps women going. If they was to get hit with the truth and actually accept it, because there's a lot of people telling truth, but if they was to get hit with the truth, hear it, and accept it, it would force them to change and accept a version of reality that they've been running away from. Self-delusion becomes a coping mechanism so they don't have to deal with reality. And in all actuality, I can stop the video there, but it actually gets better.
Do that gracefully and stay so confident in yourself when the entire ecosystem of the world is just set to make us feel like garbage.
And to discard us.
To discard us at a certain
age.
I think I'm hotter now than
You are.
than I
Confirmed.
than I have ever been. I know that I am. And I think because now I see people who I'm attracted to, and I think about if I'd like to hold hands with them.
Mm.
I think, would I like to go to the movies and hold hands with them? And I think if I was going to step off a dock and onto a boat, would I want them to be the person holding my hand? And would that make me feel the way that way? Not would I just want to have sex with them, because
Miss Sharon Stone is starting to talk about things that honestly don't conflate with one another. She said she's sexier and more attractive now than she ever was, which is absolute cap, and she knows it. And when she starts to explain why she feels this way, she starts talking about things that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Whether you want to hold hands with this person and step off a dock on a boat, whether you want to hold hands with this person and walk through the park, whether you want to hold hands with this person and go see a parade, that has nothing to do with sexual attractiveness. This has nothing to do with being sexually appealing. She's talking about something that has nothing to do with the other thing. So she's doing misdirection here. Holding hands, stepping off a dock, holding hands, walking through the park. This would fall into the realm of romance. This would not fall into the realm of sexual attractiveness, someone being sexually appealing. So she's basically using this as a talking point to make women feel better who are her age or potentially older, or someone who may be in their 50s, or a woman in general who's getting older and not feeling good at what they're seeing in the mirror. She's giving a different perspective that they need to take on how they look to deal with their aging. But women have the same thing in their house that every man has, which is a mirror. And anyone with two eyes and a brain can see that at 60, 70, 80 years old, you don't look the same, you don't receive the same attention. Guys do not find you beautiful, sexually appealing as they did in your younger years. And what's difficult about this is that she knows it. This is why she can't combat it with carnal talking points. What I mean by that is she can come back and combat the fact that as she aged, her skin got saggy. She got wrinkles. Things that used to sit up and be perky and useful and youthful are now sagging. She can't combat these biological facts. So she's speaking on things that has nothing to do with physical appearance. But it's all it is a misdirection. She has no answer for the question at hand, which is how do you deal with getting older and no longer being sexually appealing or sexually attractive to the opposite sex? That was the question.
I mean, just wanting to have sex is something that's so easy.
Yeah.
You know, you could just want to have sex like you just want to have a cup of coffee. I mean, just wanting to have sex is so easy. You could see a guy crossing the street and think, I just want to have sex with him. And then I really just.
Now, what Miss Sharon Stone is saying right here is absolutely true, but there's a big difference now. Back when Miss Sharon Stone looked like this, whenever she's seen a guy that she wanted to have sexual intimate relationships with, that guy would jump on the opportunity. But now that Miss Sharon Stone looks like this, she doesn't have the same opportunity and the same access to men as she did when she was younger. So now she's saying that that type of thing that she used to be able to have is so trivial, it's meaningless, it doesn't mean much, and I will capitulate that that's not everything. But she's arguing from a place of dishonesty. She's just saying that now because she no longer has access to the men that she used to have access to before. So everything that she's saying right now would be a benefit if she actually had access to these men that she wanted, but she was being selective with the men that she wanted because she prefers holding hands and all this other nonsense. But she's only taking this position and taking this quote unquote high road because she no longer has these options. And when a person no longer has options or don't have options to do certain things, they always come off as pretentious or someone who's being self-righteous or virtue signaling. When in reality, they just don't have the options to be able to do it. Because if they could do it, they would do it.
Just want him to go away. Sure, I'd like to have sex with 7 people I saw on the way over here today. If I'm honest. If I'm honest, because
Right.
sure, sex is awesome and I love to have sex. But in the end, it's the thing you get worth the thing you get.
Ooh.
In the end, can you still have sex with the men that you find physically attractive? That's the problem. She just said she loves sex. Sex is great. But in the end, now in your 60s, can you have sex with the men that you used to be able to have sex with when you were in your 20s and when you were in your 30s? That's what this comes down to.
Oh, you don't think, like, take a look, like someone wants to us too. Like, it's not a mystery,
The problem with that statement is she's saying someone wants to have sex with her too, with them too. The problem is it's not the men that they want. I'm sure there's a man out there that will have sex with Sharon Stone in her 60s. I'm sure there is. I'm positive on that. The question is, the men that will do it, are they the men that you want? And this is where the rubber meets the road. And this is where we have to be honest. And I'm not trying to shame Miss Sharon Stone here. I'm just being honest. We have to be honest. Even as men, once we age, there's certain women, they're just not going to be attracted to us anymore. A wrinkled old man is not attractive. Neither is a wrinkled old woman. And this is a fact. This is a fact. And we have to accept facts. So while she's saying there's still a man out there that will have sex with her, it is not the men that they want.
You know, you're not the only one someone wants to sleep with. Like,
So is being sexy the
See, this is the thing that really, I'm going to tell you something here. This is a jewel. This is the thing that women really hate and despise about men. And this is why she's talking like this. I'm going to tell you right now what it is. I'm going to give you a secret. I'm going to give you a nugget. Women despise the fact that as they get older, they become less desirable. But as men get older, they become more desirable. Because as men get older and become extinguished, they get more experience, they accumulate more resources, they become more attractive to women. As women get older in age, they become less attractive to men. This is why women despise men when it comes to this topic. This is why women despise men that can become passport bros and go to another country and get a younger, prettier version than themselves and have a happy, content life. But they can't do the same because women cannot date down. Whether they're in this country or they go to another country, they have to find a man who is on their level economically or who is economically above them. They cannot go below. This is why women are really pissed off about and against passport bros. And this is why women, older women, like what Sharon Stone is saying, this is why they say the things that she says. That as she gets older, she's hotter, she's better, because they despise the fact that this is actually what happens when men get older and when men get more distinguished and when men get more things.
I think that what happens, because I'm in my 60s, is that like people think like that no one looks at you anymore. And the truth of the matter is I have just as many people who want to sleep with me now as I ever did. It's just that there isn't that thing when you walk in the room that every guy goes, ooh, you know what I mean? Because you're not as easy.
There it is. That thing that she's talking about where they go, ooh, is attractiveness. It is sex appeal. She no longer has that ooh factor that men used to have when she was in her 20s, when she was in her 30s. That ooh factor that she's talking about is her sexual attractiveness to the opposite gender. She no longer has that. That's gone. She just told on herself. But she's going to come back around and say something else to try to cover up the truth, because we already established women can't handle the truth. Jack Nicholson already told us that in A Few Good Men.
As you were when you were young, because you're much more discerning as you get older. And men recognize that you're not as easy. And that's why they don't look at you as much. And that's why they don't make such a big deal over you. It's not because you're not as hot. It's because you're not as easy.
I rest my case.
I rest my case.
Now, she is right about one thing. There is nothing easy about older women. By the time you get an older woman, she's been through a lot of relationships. She had a lot of sexual encounters. She had a lot of different experiences with a lot of different men. She's been cheated on. She's been lied to. She's been deceived. She's been tricked. You just name it. She's been through it. And she's accumulated a whole lot of baggage. So by the time you get to her, you are fighting battles that exist within her that actually happened in past relationships. As far as her adapting, being adaptable, being able to be molded, that's completely gone. Because women are like women, they're like clay. And the younger they are, the more pliable the clay is. So it's easier to mold it. It's easier to be a potter and to turn it and build it into something. as they go through relationship after relationship, breakup after breakup, sexual encounter after sexual encounter, the clay starts to harden. And then once they reach a certain age, once they hit that wall, the clay is hard at that point, and it's impossible to soften it up again. Very women do this. Very few women do this. This is why men stay away from older women, because once the clay is hardened, it's not worth trying to soften it up again. It's just easier to go get a piece of clay that's moldable, that's pliable, that you can work on and that you can shape. For a person who said that this podcast is viewed by women due to their honesty, due to them being truthful, if that is the case, then you absolutely failed your audience, because there was nothing truthful and there was nothing nothing honest about the diatribe and the foolishness that came out of everyone's mouth during this segment. And we've seen this all before. Do you remember that famous former supermodel? Her name was Paulina, who actually said the same thing, who hit the wall, became invisible to men. Do we all remember her?
The other thing is that I think a lot of men that have been through divorce and now are in their 50s and 60s are having a midlife crisis. Mm-hmm. And this is a subject that I really think that we should explore, because they all go for the younger women. So my dating puddle, even though I think I'm pretty smart and I'm not bad looking, and I can take care of myself. Thanks. It's makeup and the ring light. I am as invisible to I'd say 70% of the men as any woman who's 56.
I don't understand.
I think you might be using the wrong word.
Yes.
I don't think it's invisible. I think it's unapproachable.